me share my screen. Oops. And present. Created my presentation on Canva. If you guys don't know Canva, it is a great. Okay, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out. You're not in my presentation. Okay, so hi everyone. Thank you again, Helena, for this nice intro. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to build a website that converts. And like I said, I'm Karen, and I'm the founder of my website design agency, Awaken Studio. And apologies for the nerves. It's been a while since I've publicly spoken, but I'm really excited about this topic. All right, so before we kind of dive into it, just a few important facts about why should we even care about having a website that converts. Think about your own websites. If you have a website or if you visited other people's websites, have you gone onto a website and the content or layout is just unattractive or confusing? You're probably not going to engage with it very much, and definitely you're not going to return to a website, right? So you always want to make sure that when you're thinking about creating a website, that first and foremost, it makes sense and is not just cluttered and very confusing. People really will judge your company's credibility within 5 seconds of landing on your website. So you really want to make sure that the design looks credible and looks engaging to the user. So we'll go into some helpful tips as to how to create that actual website that does convert your customers. And first, I want to bring up this quote, which I love. It's by Donald Miller, who's the author of Building a Story Brand. And if you haven't heard of this book or read this book, I recommend it to every entrepreneur. It's a really, really great read. And he talks about websites kind of like a first date. So he basically says the customer simply needs to know that you have something that they want and you can be trusted to deliver whatever that is, right? So if we think about a website, you want to create that immediate trust with your customer so that you can actually sell to them. So again, nice to meet you all. Like I said before, I'm the founder of Awaken Studio, which is my website design agency. I have been a Wix designer for over 8 years, and then now also a Wix partner. I actually am featured on their website. If you go to wix.com/partners, they decided to do a little feature of me, which is very cool. And previously, I lived in New York City for 6 years, where I was also the Wix ambassador. So putting on events kind of like these, teaching about Wix and website design. And I've created over for all sorts of businesses over the last 8 years, and businesses ranging from small businesses to startups to even medium-sized businesses. And that's it. All right, so let's kind of dive in, right? When we think about websites, most people, what's the first thing that comes to our head? Design, right? A website, hiring a designer. But there's two really important aspects that are beyond design that are really, really important to make sure that a website is successful. And that's strategy and messaging, right? So we want to make sure that our strategy is in place, and we're going to dive into this first, right? To really know who we are and who we're trying to target. Messaging, we want to make sure that the words we're putting out on our website really come across and connect with our end user. And of course, design, right? A website will be nothing without good design. So let's talk about strategy first. So we want to know the goal of our website, right? Why are you creating a website anyways? Do you have a product that you're looking to sell? Are you looking to become a recognized thought leader in your space? Are you a service-based provider? Maybe you're looking to book more clients. This is extremely important to establish, and it really will help you create the type of messaging, the design and messaging for your website. And then once we know the goal of our website, we want to understand who our target audience is, right? So we want to get specific with this. I know this is a cliche. People say this all the time, know your target audience, but really you want to know who they are because you're selling to these people. And so if you don't really understand who they are and what they're looking for, it's going to be hard to sell to them. And once you understand your target audience and really what they want from you, you'll be able to not only craft messaging that speaks to them, but actually create products that they want to buy. And once we understand the goal of our website and our target audience, we'll be able to actually figure out what our call to action is. So you might see this as on websites as the button, right, that we kind of carries us through the website. Contact us, book a demo. It's really important that you have a main call to action that your customer can take when they're on your website. So let's take a look at two different types of businesses. On the left side, we have a service-based business, which is a health and lifestyle holistic clinic. They are basically looking to their customers' audience. Their customer is adults aged 30 to 65 looking to improve their health, and their main call to action, their main goal is to grow their membership, right? So their call to action is to become a paid member. So you'll see it's a little small, but you'll see call to actions that says become a member. We even have a call to action on top that says book a free consultation, because again, once someone books a free consultation, the next step is to convert them into a paid member. On the right side, we have Smart Mirror, which is they create an amazing dental tool. It's pretty revolutionary in their space, and they are trying to reach dentists and sell their product to them. So their main call to action here is to sign up for pre-orders. So once we understand all of this, now we actually want to apply it on our website. A website is more than just the homepage, and we really want to direct our users to get to that end goal of where they are going to contact you. So sometimes, you'll see call to actions on the homepage, but, they get to the bottom of the homepage. What page can you lead them to next? So this is just a little map of the user journey, right? We're bringing people from our homepage, maybe onto the about, and then kind of bringing them on this journey where the final page is the page they'll contact you. And this looks different for different types of clients, but this is a user journey I see pretty often. So recapping that again is make sure why you're creating a website, right? What's the goal of your website? Know who you're speaking to, who your target audience is. Make sure you have a clear call to action and map the user journey. All right, so messaging. This is really as a website designer, I can't tell you enough how important messaging is to a website, right? Your visuals might look great, but if the message isn't up to par on your website, people won't be inspired to read, and it will really hurt your engagement. So the first and most important thing is to have a clear headline, right? So when you come onto a website, it's usually that first strip on your website, and it's the text on there. So you want to make sure people understand within seconds what it is that you do and are inspired to read on. So for example, on this same website, Smart Mirror, we have our headline is Lights, Camera, Mirror, which is a fun play on words of lights, camera, action, because there's a mirror on the Smart Mirror device. And then it says, replace your old dental mirror with Smart Mirror, an all-in-one dental mirror, powerful, true color light, and camera with real-time video. So, within seconds, people, and especially dentists, will understand exactly what this is and that it's for them, and they'll probably be inspired to read on. This is another one of our clients. I love their headline. They're building a relationship with the client as opposed to just trying to sell them something, right? So Alchemy Solar simplifies the solar journey by helping you make the best decision at each step of the process. Not a sales company, a solar solution partner, right? It's the type of messaging that makes me feel confident that I can trust this company before I even see the rest of their website. So really, really think about your messaging and what is going to communicate effectively to your target audience. All right, so this is another thing I see all too much is people just think that the more text on my website, the better. If I just put a ton of keywords, it's gonna convert and Google will pick it up. But this isn't true anymore, right? Websites have changed, and these days it's important to not have too much text, actually. So the what I like to call it is snackable content. So we want to create bite-sized, digestible chunks of content that as someone is skimming down the page, they can quickly and easily get what you're about, right? So a quick test for this is to have maybe someone who's never been on your website before, just kind of do a quick scroll and see if they can understand within like 30 seconds or a minute what you're trying to offer to them. And also another tip is use images to break up text. So if there is ever a place where you have a lot of text, images are a great way to kind of break that up. This is one of my favorite principles. Always sell the benefit of whatever it is you're selling, not the product, right? So it's pretty easy to talk about yourself when on your website, right? That of course makes sense, but people actually only care about what you do will help them, right? So how is what you do going to benefit the end user? So highlight your benefit. And if you can solve the pain point, and we'll take a look at an example of that in just a sec, you can solve someone's pain point, that you have so much more chances of them actually converting and getting in touch with you. And finally, speak to your visitors, not at them, right? So whenever appropriate, you is always better than we. And you want to create copy that really creates a dialogue with your customer. So this example reads, your time, your life, and you are precious. You've got one body and one mind to make the most of your time on this planet. So it's really just creating that dialogue and inspiring me to read on, you know, what else can this client offer me? And now we're going to look at a quick ESN case study. This is actually a one-day website that I did a couple of weeks ago for Chaim Messer, who's in the Jerusalem group, I believe. Let me know. I think you can still see my screen.
Yes, Drew.
You guys say? Yes. Okay, great. So yeah, like I said, this is a one-day website. It's basically a service that I offer. We create and figure out all the sections of a website in just a day. So looking at the principles that some of the principles that we just went over, right? You see that there's a clear headline, reduce your business expenditure with customized solutions. So right off the bat, I know what he's offering, and we have a clear call to action, which is as let's work together. Then as we scroll down the page, again, he's speaking to his audience. And here within the first sentence of his text, he's already hitting on a pain point, right? So for me, I know as a small business here in Israel, trying to figure out how things are different in Israel compared to the US, and I'm still struggling with it. Yes, I'm struggling with my invoicing and have an angry accountant. So yep, I will probably contact you, Chaim. And then as we scroll down the page, you see that we have text that is probably a bit longer than I would suggest, but it's broken up really nicely. So it's not too overwhelming to read, especially with our titles, makes it really, really easy to understand. And then as we scroll down some more, he has an intro, but again, instead of just talking about himself, really he wants how he's here to make your life easier. Right? Who isn't in the business to hire someone who's going to help us make our lives easier? And then, of course, some social proof and a final call to action again to get in touch with Chaim. Cool. So to recap, our messaging again, you want to make sure to, one, have a clear headline, always create snackable, digestible content. Make sure you're selling the benefit, not the product, and then always speak to your visitors and not at them. Okay, and last but not least, design, right? So again, we all think about as website designers, or as a website designer, design is obviously one of the most important things. All right, so the first thing that someone the first thing someone sees on your website, likely besides your headline, is probably your logo, right? Your logo is the foundation of your brand. And you really want to make sure that the logo gives the right impression of your brand and really resonates with your ideal customer. We want to think about our color palette, right? So depending on the type of business we are, we might have a more soothing color palette, we might have a more striking one. And when we're thinking about colors, you usually want to stick with a few main colors, so it really gives that brand cohesiveness. So I'd say like 2 to 3 to 4 colors is usually good, and colors that work together. Stay away from using too many colors. And same with fonts, right? I always say it's good to stick with about 2 to 3 fonts. This is just a quick tip. I usually use one font for the header text, one for the body text, and one for the call to action button. So you can be creative. There's so many fonts out there that you can choose from, but don't go with more than 3 fonts. Again, it's just gonna make your website look unprofessional. And have great visuals. This is so important. A website that doesn't have great visuals, it's just gonna not engage with your customer. So I always opt for brand photos whenever possible. So if you can do a photo shoot, whether that's for you or your product, it's always preferable. And if not, you're not able to do that, there's plenty of great stock photos out there. There's way more stock photo sites now than there were 5 years ago. So you can actually find some pretty great photos if you can't do your own shoot. And then really important, make sure your photos aren't blurry. If your photos, I see too many times that I come onto a website and their photos just aren't high res and they're blurry, it looks really bad. And then another option, if you don't want to use photos, maybe you're really into the illustrative style, colors, you can use color blocks, illustrations, or patterns to create a great website as well. You don't have to use photos. So we have a few examples of our clients that we've done that sort of look for. Works really great as well. But just most important thing is to make sure you have a visual language on your website. And keep your animation subtle, right? I'm sure we've all been on websites before where things kind of like fly in from different directions. You don't do that. You want to keep your animation subtle. You don't want it to distract your visitor from the message, from what you're trying to get them to do on your website. So some subtle animations are float in or fade in. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, talk to your website designer, but you want to just keep these animations as things that add to the messaging you're trying to create and not take away from it. And finally, a small tip that makes a huge difference is to leave enough breathing room between the sections. There's so many websites, especially back in the day, that kind of like feel like they need to scrunch everything together, and the user basically looks at the site and they're not really sure what to look at first, right? So like we said before, we want to take them on this journey, and don't put in too much text and content in a small amount of space, right? So this is a little throwback, right? This is what Amazon used to look like. Again, they've evolved quite a bit, but this is very typical of websites back in the day. So again, make sure you don't put in too much content in a small amount of space. So to recap our design, again, make sure you have an identifiable logo, choose your color palette and your fonts, always have great visuals, keep your animation subtle, and finally, make sure to always have enough breathing room. And that's it. I would be happy to work with you, any of you guys. I offer 3 different types of packages. One is ranging from a custom Wix website to a one-day website. And you can connect with us online. Our website is awakenstudio.nyc, or find us on Instagram or on LinkedIn. And that's it. So thank you very much for having me.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much. That was brilliant. Really great. Does anyone have any questions?
I do.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so first of all, yes, that was really great. Like, first of all, beautiful and on point, and telling us things we didn't know or reminding us of things we already knew, but are important to remember. And we had spoken, right, about Wix and how Wix is so much easier than WordPress, right? But someone recently told me, and I was wondering if you could speak to this, is that WordPress has better SEO results on Google. Is that a thing?
No,
Not a thing?
Yeah. So it's not a thing. And yes, I will speak to that. Back in the day when Wix started out, it started out as a DIY platform, and their main focus wasn't on SEO. So if you were to ask me 5 years ago, I'd probably tell you, yeah, you probably want to use WordPress because they have more advanced SEO tools. However, Wix has actually shifted their business altogether, and they're actually not even focused on DIY anymore. They're really focused on agencies, and they have pretty much brought in I would say 95% of all of the important SEO tools that WordPress also offers. So at this point, there's almost no difference between there's almost no difference between if you're looking to do a SEO strategy on a WordPress site or on a Wix site. And also SEO has kind of changed and evolved, right? So before it used to be a lot about keyword stuffing and whatnot, and Orita and I actually had just talked about this, but really now it's all about creating content and link building. So it doesn't really matter what platform you do it from, but if you link building essentially means like having high quality links, let's say the New York Times linked out to my website, that would signal to Google, hey, this is a really important website, rank it higher. So for example, I'm linked out on Wix.com, which has a really high authority. So Google automatically recognizes me as a more important website. So yeah, let me know if that answers your question.
So it does, and I have like a breakup question. Okay, also about SEO and about how you said not to be too content heavy. So on my website, the content is sort of broken up and it has pictures, but the person who built it had told me you need to have at least, I don't know, 350 or 450 words on each page. And I thought that was a ton. And like, I struggled to come up with the content. And is that true or is that no longer relevant? Because I would have loved to scale back and air it out a bit.
Yeah, I would say that you want to make sure that you have the best keywords on, it's called H1 and H2, basically your titles. That's where we're really going to try to pick up from, not so much the body text. I would say if you are looking to have more, right, it's like a balance, right? Like what does Google prefer? What do users prefer? But I think as like time progresses, Google is more so trying to understand Google is more so trying to wants that the users are going to stay on the website for longer, right? So that's actually a really important factor. So if they see a client or a user just, sorry, my battery just went low. If they see that someone just clicks out of a website, that's actually a really important factor. So let's say a website just has so much text and people feel overwhelmed and they click out, that's actually going to be a factor for Google. So I would say focus on having the really important keywords in your H1s and H2s. And then in your inner pages, you can have plenty of content. No one's saying, of course, keep it snackable, definitely in your homepage, but then, you might have a bio page with expanded, content, and that's totally fine. So.
Thanks.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Marco, sure.
Do you plan on doing more of these? I know you haven't done a presentation in a long time, but it was pretty valuable. I'm serious.
Oh, thank you. I know it's been, I was on my presentation, right? I was a New York Wix ambassador. I was actually doing these monthly, and this was like in 2017. So it's just been a while since I've publicly spoken, but I actually really enjoy it. It's like a muscle, right? If you haven't done it in so long, it's kind of hard to jump back in, but it's definitely fun once.
Yeah, but it's all about your expertise. So I think it'd be great if you could do this with some strategic referral partners. Like this would be a really cool way to expand.
Yeah,
really good.
I would love to. Yeah, if anyone wants to partner up and do a webinar, let's do it.
I also think it's very different doing it on Zoom than doing it like to a live audience, as it were.
Totally. I think this is my first presentation on Zoom that I can think of. Very,
very different on Zoom. I much prefer it live, but yeah, it's on Zoom. It's much harder to keep the attention. But you did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop pausing now before I just record dead air, which I do every week. Do you have a question, Nathan? Yeah.
Yes, I have a question.
My apologies. Oh, all right. I think also.
Yeah, Karen, great presentation. Color covered.
Thank you.
It's very clear and added value. Can you elaborate a bit more about your one-day website building service?
Yeah, absolutely. So my one-day website package is essentially a condensed version of my 8-week custom website package. People say to me, like, how do you actually do it all in a day? And there is a limit to how big of a website we can build in a day. Chaim's website that I showed actually had, I think, 2 more inner pages, one for his bio and one for another service for his yeah. So basically the way that works is that we have a strategy session in the morning. You have to kind of come prepared, maybe with some images, and maybe you like kind of thought about obviously your business, right? So you have a little bit, maybe some copy written. But what we do together in that day, we start out with the strategy session that essentially we create a site map of what your website is going to be. So, right, like nailing down the sections of your website and what each section should be. So I help guide my clients into saying like, okay, why don't we start with a really strong tagline, and then like we have a conversation about that and we kind of figure out what it should be. I then send the client to do homework while I start. And so I'll start, I'll put in placeholder text in the meantime, but knowing around how much copy he will write. So it's a really collaborative day, right? So the client's doing homework, he's like finalizing his copy. And then we kind of come together midday. He or she sends over the copy, and then I input it into the website that I'm designing. And then I will usually design any like last inner pages or in the afternoon and do the mobile SEO and put it live. So the Chaim site, we started at 9:30 and we were live by 6 p.m. So it's a really fun collaborative day. I do it probably around once a month. I have a one-day website. I can't do them every week. It definitely takes a lot out of me, but I love to be challenged. So it's it's fun. And I've been creating websites for so long, so I'm very, very fast at it, which is why I'm able to offer a service like this. So it's also really good for those on a budget. If I didn't say that before, that's like basically my way of being able to use something for like a quarter of the price of my custom website, but still get online.
It's amazing. A day is phenomenal because websites can take a very long time and be really dragged out, particularly with copy. I used to be a copywriter, and waiting for copy is a nightmare scenario. So that sounds amazing.
Much amazing service.
Totally.
Yeah, and Chaim's website, the case study that you showed, is beautiful. It's very professional looking, and it's, I think, perfect for what he needs. So
yeah, and I was debating if to show you guys that one or a different one, because that's not like my best design. Of course, it's a one-day website, but that just shows you the level of like what we can create in a day. If I showed you the custom websites, right, then you can go onto my website and see some other work that we've done. But yeah, it was some really awesome stuff.
Is he able to update his website now on his own, the one-day website that you built for him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so because I build all my websites in Wix, he actually knew Wix beforehand. He had a Wix website. I don't know if it previously. So he knew Wix, but if a client, for example, it's usually in like a 20-minute video that I send, it's basically like how to change images, just essentially how to keep your site. It's a much easier upkeep than trying to WordPress site, and the client owns their website 100%. They don't have to, if they want to continue to work with me in the future, by all means, we do hourly as well. But yeah, the point is that, they can, own and manage their own site.
Awesome. I think Orit had a question, and then we'll go to Leora, and if someone else had a question, let me know. Orit.
First of all, I really just loved your presentation. When we get into the world of custom websites, is there a way, maybe a language of web designers to distinguish between a website that serves just as a representation of a business versus the creation of an environment that has all sorts of functionalities to invite people to actually be in that digital space and do things like a society online type of thing? Is there a language from web designers to distinguish so that I can know who to look for when the client is actually looking for a website that is more than just a representation or an advertisement of their company? I'm sorry if that's a large question. I'm just
wait,
wondering.
can you,
Yeah.
try to repeat the question again.
I'll try to
Mind repeating?
simplify it. I'll try to.
Okay.
So a lot of websites are kind of like a business card online, you know, like it tells you what the business does and it gives you the contact information to reach out to them. And then there's also a website that wants to serve as an environment so that you could come, whether it's creating a chat ability or just a whole network of possibilities and very large scale, lots of pages, things like that. That wants to keep you on the website. Yeah, who do we turn to then? Is it the same person, or is it you also, or is it a whole nother?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it really just depends on who the client is and what they're. Usually when it's a new business, I say that, you know, a one-day website is perfect for you because you're still actually in the steps of trying to figure out what it is you do and what it is you're trying to offer. So I would say don't jump and try to create like a website with 10 or 15 pages and all these brochures and handouts and whatnot, right? Like like a lot of clients that I've actually done one-day websites for have grown and now their websites are like 30 pages, but we started off 5 years ago as a one-day website. If you're a business that you're very confident in what you do, what you offer, for example, like I'll just say my own business, right? Like I rebranded this past November and I have actually a PDF on there that I should send to all of you. It's essentially this presentation, but I have blogs. I really want to keep people on my website, both from like a bounce rate perspective, right? Like Google will see that, oh, wow, they're engaging with my site. They're on there for 4 or 5 minutes. That's amazing. And if they're on there for a while, chances are they're liking my content and are probably going to contact me or keep me in mind in the future. So I think it just depends on the business. And yes, we can create websites that, you know, the goal is always to keep someone on the website or contact, right? So just really just kind of depends on who the customer is.
Awesome. Any more questions? Elisheva and then Lauren.
Okay. Hi, so I'm curious, first of all, I loved your presentation, so helpful in so many ways. I'm curious about basically like a cognitive walkthrough on the website. If let's say you have a lot of content that you want to share people to read, like for example, you have like thousands of Excels, like someone to learn online, and you need them to go onto each file and to basically extract some sort of information from it. How do you get them to understand what to do on your website? If it's like making like a video, like a recording and explaining how to use the website, but how do you make like a website that's a little, I don't know, like messy, and making it more straightforward for the user to come on? If it's like making like a video representation, like what would you suggest for that?
Yeah, so if I had a website that, and I see that a lot, right? I have, there's a lot of websites that I love. They just offer so much content and that's great. It's just all about organizing it in the correct way. So one thing that I've seen a lot of other people do is create a resource center, and you actually can create an opt-in, right? So like, hey, leave your name and email address and get free direct access to my resource center full of, like, you want to make it almost like an enticing thing for the client. Like you have something that is of value and they can get it for free. And then once they like put in their name and email and enter this page, right, they feel like they're getting a gift, and really you're just giving them all the content, but you're framing it in a way where they feel like they just won something, they got something for free, and they're probably going to read it because they feel, as opposed to you just having it on the homepage and be like, here's all the things that I've written, it's not as enticing for them to read it. So that's one way that I've seen work really, really well. Or you could just kind of like categorize things up top in your nav bar, right? So if you have, let's say, a video library, I have a client, actually one of my one-day websites, he's a personal trainer, and like grown his website, right? It has all of his services, he has videos like these, like categorized by like shoulder, stretches and leg stretches. So it's just very, very easy to navigate. And you know, I think at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're putting out content that your users want, and not just content because you feel like putting it out. So yeah, with Google Analytics and stuff like that, you can actually see, you know, which pages people are clicking on and whatnot. And then you can always update from there.
Thank you.
And Leora, did you have Leora?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, sorry, I'm late, everyone. Yeah, late, but I just wanted to say, unfortunately, I missed your talk, Karen, but I just wanted to say that as this is a networking group, I've seen Karen's work, and as your local graphic designer, I think that I have a right to say that her work is absolutely magnificent. And besides that, she has a very good marketing stance and a good understanding of how to sort out a website in a way that it's very easy to actually understand where you should go from one step to the next, which is actually much more important than a site looking pretty. So, but she's got both. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Awesome, thank you. Alicia.
Yeah, one more question. There's one of your services where you refresh the website.
Yeah. Sorry, I think my internet's being really iffy.
Yeah, it's cutting out a little bit, but I think it's okay.
Okay, I kind of been doing things weird the last few days, but yeah, I have a Wix website refresh package, which is essentially if you already have a Wix website and if you use some love-in, it is around half the price of a custom website because your content's already on there, and we essentially work to just same strategies, right? Same principles, just fine-tune your strategy, fine-tune the messaging, and clean up the design. So yeah, it's definitely a great package, and I have a few people who've signed up for that recently. It's something new that I actually just launched with the rebrand in November. So I know a lot, especially in Israel, a lot of people have Wix websites already. I just, you know, every third person I think that I go to their website, it ends up being a Wix website that could definitely use some improvement. So I thought it was a great new service to introduce.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms now. Karen, again, that was all. Let's stop.